Okay, so in this video, I'm going to describe the process I went through of developing an auto feeder fish food sort of dispenser unit. This is the final version, which is actually up in the racks right now. It moves across and feeds each of these fish tanks. Uh, right. So what's the problem first? So I have zebrafish that we use in our research. These are the larvae are extremely tiny. They're sensitive. Their growth and survival is sensitive to the amount of food that's fed to them and the timing of that schedule. Feeding them myself, I often will miss feedings, and it's hard to control exactly the quantity. It's extremely small, so it's in under 10 milligrams, and it's very sticky powder. So that made the design kind of difficult. Uh, there are off-the-shelf systems you can buy, like little that you can mount on a fish rack, and it sort of rotates, and a certain amount of fish food falls out, and that it rotates back. These are so they're hard to program. I'd have to put one of them on every single tank. Some of the tanks will take there's times where they might receive both foods, so I'd have to put two on the tanks. When you program them, you have to program them on the device. So that's a little complicated, but I could certainly overcome those pieces of it. More importantly, it doesn't dispense it's difficult to have a control over the amount that's dispensed, and have that really fine and repeatable so that it's always dispensing that same amount. So yeah, I decided to design my own. I'll be showing you some of the software as well. The initial, yeah, so right, I went through all these designs. These are a whole bunch of different 3D printed parts of a bunch of different attempts. So the first attempt, I'll show you on the computer here, was this guy. I'll hide. So it mounts to there's like 2020 aluminum extrusion. So that's what this top mount is. But if I remove that, you see it was sort of an auger design here where there's a hole in the middle, and then I would put some, like, whatever, you do a certain number of rotations, and that would spit out some food. That did not produce very regular. The food is extremely sticky and both powdery, and we want a fine amount of it. So it would stick and then drop out. And I realized you kind of want to prevent moisture from getting into the food. And through the auger, there's actually an open air gap to the food itself. So that's that right. So that design wasn't very good. So I decided to switch to a different design, one that, oh, right, and there's the size of that motor, and you can kind of see what's inside of it, and a little stepper motor on the back. So I decided to switch to a different design, which was this. It has little vibrating motors up inside of it. And then it has a hopper, and then there's a little rotating, so a little disc goes inside, and then I can control the the diameter of that, the circle, the cylinder, and then the height of it as well by the thickness of the disc. And that way I can get really controlled dispensing or amounts of food that are dispensed. Okay, so in order to yeah, develop that, the first thing I did, so I had this little guy, and this was just to test. So I put a vibrator in here, and then in here I had different hole diameters, and this was just to see, with the vibration, like what hole diameter for each food type, and that vibration can get the food to kind of pour out. So then I kind of figured out the right hole diameter for each food, and then I went on to, okay, well, what thickness of the cylinder, the little dispensing cylinder, should work. So I printed this guy, and then I would just hand rotate it out with the vibration going, and figured out a good hole diameter for that, or excuse me, thickness of the disc. And then let's see, okay, and then put it together sort of into the full design, the full design of this that you were kind of seeing here. Installed that on the rack. It worked great to doing testing, but then the next morning, the food had settled, and it just sort of, think there are different terms for this in like powder handling, but it had formed this sort of bridge where even with the vibration, nothing, it wasn't falling through anymore into the little cylinder in the disc. So that was super frustrating after all that effort. But yes, so the new design I decided to go with, which was this guy, which it has a similar disc that rotates around. Let's see, screenshot. Is that it? Oh yes. But crucially, and so I made this little test just to prove the test of it. I would hand rotate this. There's a little lid that goes over the top of it. And I was testing this by hand. So I'd put the powder in there, and this would move around. And then I have these little I don't know, little catches sort of around the inside of this cylinder. And so this little paddle will catch on those and pop, and that kind of kicks and breaks up the powder that's inside, and then can fall down into the disc and fall out. So I experimented with that. That worked really well. So I moved on to the actual, full design of things. So this is the design. Again, if we get rid of these guys, you can see inside here, and there's a little catch. Yeah, and then right. So anyway, so this was working really well. I installed it, tested it, but now actually super interesting. It would catch so it would fall down into the cylinder. It no longer was, bridging inside of the the chamber with the food, but it was sticking right here and not falling out. Even in, large diameters, it wouldn't actually fall out of this disc. So the final design that I did, which is this guy, is I put a ball bearing for the appropriate size, of the food or whatever. Each disc has a size hole, and there's a ball bearing that fits in that. There's a spring on top of that that's compressed, and that ball bearing kind of pushes it out. So you'll see that here, and then this is it's spring compressed. So when that rotates. So when this rotates over, it's like bonk, and pushes the food out, which is great. So that's working super well. So yeah, went through all of that, and yeah, and I'm really happy with the design. It's very reliable, repeatedly drops things down. Yeah, now it's on to the next task. So thanks for watching.